Hello and welcome to Coffee with Craig. This is where I usually talk about the future, talk about things that are in the press, things that are likely to happen. But today I'm going to talk about the topic of, can dreams predict the future? I'm going to share a few examples with you, and I'd like to take some of your questions later on as we move into the show. So welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, hi again and welcome to the show. And for those of you just joining me, we'll be taking some questions later on. So have some questions in mind as we move into the show. Now, normally on these programs, I make a few predictions and things like that. But I thought I'd talk today about some of the methods, I suppose, that I use to predict the future. And one of the most important to me is dreams, because dreams can be a very, very powerful way of connecting with your unconscious mind. And through that unconscious, I suppose that's, I think, where the clairvoyance comes from, because we don't use our rational mind with clairvoyance. We use this other part of the mind, this hidden part of the mind that, they might call it the unconscious, or let's just say it's the hidden part of the mind. It comes from out of the blue. And very often, I think that when we connect to the universe, or whatever we want to call it, when we use that unconscious part of ourselves to make clairvoyance. So tonight I'm going to talk about how dreams can be a very powerful way for you to understand the unconscious mind and things, and also for me too, how I use them in my work. Now, I had a dream. Obviously, I was thinking, I'll do something on dreams. And of course, then you get a dream that can sometimes be interesting. So let me just, first of all, explain a prophetic dream that I think I've had, because I dreamed something strange last night. And this may be a good kicking off point to discuss this topic. Now, I'm going to make this prediction today on this dream. So I'm making this prediction on the 16th of January. God, I've got my computer there, I can forget the date. 16th of January 2023. I'm describing this dream. And I had a strange dream last night that I was in London, and there was an eerie, odd feeling in the air. And I could feel kind of like a sort of a tension and things like this around me. And I'm walking down the street and I look at the road sign and it says Coronation Street. Now, if we think about Coronation Street, that's not in London, that's in Lancashire. But the dream was definitely had a feeling of being set in London, in my opinion. Felt like I was in London. And there was gas. There was gas everywhere. There was smoke and gas. And people were running from gas. So could it be that dream? Could it be just my thoughts, or could it be a possible prediction? And when I think about it afterwards, I woke up. There's other things in the dream, kind of personal things, like I was dreaming of some of the dead people I know, for example. And I thought, well, is that the spirit trying to tell me these things as well? But the key part of it is that it was this Coronation Street. And when I wake up, I think, oh, that's not a dream. Coronation Street, that's in Lancashire. And then I think, could that mean the coronation? Could that mean the coronation? And could it be that we'll get some form of attack in London? And could it be somehow associated with gas? And I remember in my predictions already, I have said that I felt there'd be a terrorist attack on London. And I was actually, I don't know if I said it in my predictions, but at the time I was thinking it might be to do with the underground. And so maybe there's something, perhaps there's something that there's a gas attack on London for the coronation. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So it's awful always making these frightening predictions. This was prediction made on the 16th of the 1st, 2023. So that's the kick starting off point. I'd like to hear some of your predictions. If you had anything in your dreams too, you can put them in the comments in a minute, or put them in the comments afterwards. I'll be saying hello to you guys. I see you all coming online as I'm talking here. We go live. And so this is the theme. And I think, you know, when you look at the scientific evidence for psychic dreaming or dreaming of the future, most of scientists will say, oh, there's no actual evidence of proof of life after death, you know. But there are also scientists that have been very interested in this topic right the way back from the beginnings of psychology and psychiatry, with Carl Jung, for example, who felt that he dreamed of his mother's death, and also dreamed of excuse me, of his of a great tide of darkness coming over Europe, which was later interpreted as the Second World War. So, you know, even you know, clever scientific men like Carl Jung have these dreams. So I think the important thing when we're making a prophecy of a dream is we have some way of recording it. So I think the most important thing, if you're thinking about, can I work with dreams to see the future, is to write a dream diary and write it down in that dream diary as soon as you wake up. A few hints on that, by the way, is always just put everything down. Don't try to write it in order, because you'll forget things very quickly, as you know, when you wake from a dream. So when you wake from a dream, like that dream I've just explained, get anything verbal down, Coronation Street, because the verbal things get lost first. So if anyone said anything in the dream, write that down first. The visual bits of dreams seem to stick with you a bit more. Write down the visual stuff. Write it all down. Don't worry about trying to get the order. Just bung it all in there. I often do it as a mind map. So I thought, if I have a little bit here and circle it, and then I think that later on I come back and, oh, it was there, and I add a bit more. I can remember, you know, you pull bits more later on. I don't write them so much now, but I used to keep a dream diary for years and years and years, right back when I was a teenager. And when I look back at some of those dreams that I had, I'll have to do it again soon and have a look and see anything interesting in there. But all sorts of stuff came true in my life, you know. So the dreams were definitely prophecies in my life, and and I'm sure that if you keep a long-term dream diary and you really start working with your dreams, it becomes a sounding board for your own clairvoyance and your own predictive skills. So they've been useful for me. Though most of my predictions nowadays come through meditation, but it's a similar process, because it's learning to get in touch with what I said at the beginning is like the hidden part of yourself, you know, the hidden clairvoyant within you. So you've got to record it. And also it's important, I think, sometimes if you're thinking it might be a prophetic dream, a dream about the future, tell someone, so that it's a record that you've said it. And I think this is very important with everything, because otherwise it could just be chance, couldn't it? You know, I've seen clairvoyants out there say, oh, I had this prophecy of such and such, but there's no record of it. They've said nothing's been in the press, nothing's been publicly shown. They said, I thought about it and told a friend later, you know, that I'd had a dream after this event. So, you know, you need to have something out there to prove it. And that's why YouTube is fantastic for people like me, because we stick our neck out, we make our predictions, and then if they come true, we've got a record. If they don't come true, the skeptics can come down on us too and say, look, you got it wrong. So that happens too. And I think with these things for dreams of the future, it needs to have something where there's no pre-existing knowledge in it. You know, it needs to be something completely out of the blue, because it's often the things that come most unexpectedly that often are the strange dreams. Because I thought, what on earth am I dreaming about Coronation Street for? You know, was only afterwards that it seemed to make sense. And I wasn't thinking about those type of things when I went to bed. You know, it came to come out from nowhere. Nothing influencing you from the press and things like that, or news what you watched. So that's kind of important, I think. And I've written a whole load of stuff about this, because I wrote a book way back called Psychic Dreaming, now out of print. But I did a lot of work in that about, you know, the whole book was about dreams of the future. And one of them, I was having a thumb through, and one of them I thought was quite interesting. I saw here, because I referenced Lincoln. I don't know if there's a few famous dreams out there. You know, people from the Titanic had dreams about the future. People from the Aberfan disaster, when the coal mine, all the coal slag heaps collapsed on the town, had dreams and changed the course due to it. And there's loads and loads of interesting things, including 9/11. Actually, just saying again, I had I remember having a dream just before 9/11 happened. I used to do some work for a company called Cab Air in London, which was a airplane pilot training organization partly. And I was dreaming that I was going to see my client Cab Air in Florida at Kissimmee, because I knew they had a flying school in Kissimmee. And in the dream, I'm talking to Arab people in Kissimmee at the flying school. Well, when 9/11 happened, I found later on that the pilots had been trained in Kissimmee, which is in Florida, at a pilot training place there. And I don't think it was with Cab Air, the people that I dealt with, a good company, actually, they were. It's not sponsored plug, but they are a good company. I used to do a lot of work with them. And I thought, well, isn't that weird, you know, that it was Kissimmee where they got trained? And I made no record of that. So that can't be taken as a prediction that Craig's got right, because I didn't put anything out there publicly. And that's why when you're making predictions, you need to tell someone, or publish something, or maybe make a tweet or something like that, something that you can date it and say, look, there's the date. You know, that's when I said it. But yeah, anyway, going back to what I was saying, one of the ones I found really interesting, I don't know if you've ever heard of this one, was Abraham Lincoln, because he had a dream. This is in the book here from the past. He said, I said, President Lincoln had a more famous dream than my own. 2 weeks before his assassination, he dreamed that there was a funeral at the White House. In the dream, he asked a soldier who was in the casket, and the reply was, "The President of the United States, sir." Later, when he told his wife about this dream, she remembered that he would. Saying this. Later, when he told his wife about the dream, she remarked that he would die in office. Right. Well, actually, the very place that Lincoln dreamed that coffin was there with a president in was, of course, himself, and it was in exactly the same place, they found later, of where he described it in his dream to his wife. So he saw himself dead in the coffin in a dream. So he foresaw his own death. So loads of fascinating stuff out there about Lincoln. But it is really quite interesting. So this is why I say with dreams about the future, we need really to always give some find some way we can prove it later. And the same with any form of predictions. You have to give some way you can prove it later, not just say, oh, I said that. And also I see one of you saying there, that's quite interesting. I think that's what you're talking about, that sometimes these things are wishful thinking, because often dreams can be expressions of things in our own life, and also can be very much things that are our own fears. So I described there Lincoln having a dream of his own death, but then often we do ourselves dream of our own deaths. We often in our dreams, I think, will use those as a space where we perhaps ask the questions that we dare not ask ourselves in waking life. And this can include all sorts of things, you know, all the things we've pushed out of our mind, repressed, as they say, all the things that we don't want to think about, you know, but they press upon us in our dreams. And also those dreams and nightmares that can come from this are actually part of a healing process, helping us to deal with this stuff. you know, helping us to face up to it, think about it, helping us to calm down. Dreams are about taking the emotion out of things sometimes, although they're an emotion expression very often. There's a lot in dreams about taking the pressure out, you know. So we often will dream about death. We will dream about our fears of death, our fears of illness, particularly when we're emotionally overwhelmed in life and we've got a lot of pressures on our plate. We'll often dream about death because it's like a symbol of how we're feeling. So we've got to be able to distinguish between what is one of these predictions of the future and what, mixed in with all this, are our own thoughts, feelings and fears, because that also comes in. So that's why we don't want to stress ourselves out too much when we have a dream of a funeral or something, because it might be symbolic. Okay, so let's have a look at some of your questions. One of the things I've been suggesting, I should have said this before you started typing in, guys, but if you've got a question, if you put a capital Q and then your question, I can spot them quickly compared to your chat, as it were. Let's grab a few here just randomly. I dreamed 15 years ago that the world ended. It was in the middle of August, hot in the UK. It started to snow. But when it landed on people, anaesthetized them, sky above pixelated, watched my family die. So could that be, Morgan, could that be a premonition? Or could it be, you know, you might have been hot there, for example. You said, how did you say it? You said it was a very hot. So that could have triggered the dream too. Could have that been a sort of an emotional dream? Or is it a premonition? But the world ending is often a symbol, I think, of, oh, my own personal world is like coming to an end, you know. Oh God, it's like the end of my world, you know. So dreams are metaphors, they're allegories, they're symbols. They're expressing our feelings in visual language very often to help us to deal with issues. So there might have been something more emotional there, I think, but it's on record now. If the world comes to the end in 15 years time, you can say from the spirit world, I told you so, you know. This is another one. These are quite interesting, actually. Geraldine, thanks for putting these up. On 2 separate occasions, I had a dream of a leak in my roof. In the dreams, it was droplets of water dripping from my ceilings. 2 separate bedrooms on either side of the house. I presume that you had the dream and it happened, from what you said there. I presume that's I clicked on it. You haven't said that it came true, but I presume you dreamed that would happen. I think that often in our dreams, perhaps sometimes we also subconsciously notice something and our dream warns us, like, you know, a loose stair or stair carpet or banister or something. The dream in your unconscious might spot it. You might not consciously recognize it. And in the dream, it says, hey, be careful of that. Or maybe in your dream, there was some other knowledge from the unconscious mind there that said, hey, you're going to get a dripping roof soon. That roof's looking dodgy. So like I say, often with dreams, we need predictive dreams. And it might be the case with yours, I don't know. But often with predictive dreams, we need to always have this idea that there's no existing knowledge in our mind already. They come completely unexpectedly out of the blue. They come and we can't make sense of them usually. And often with these predictive dreams, they don't make sense until much later, you know, and that's why it's good to keep the dream diary, like I said before. So any thoughts, any questions, guys? Please put them in now. I see there's a lot of you on here. I see agility bits there. I was like, I didn't read it yet, agility bits, but I know you was right. Good questions. We're still in the time of Epiphany, and the Bible says that 3 kings were warned about Herod in a dream. It was known even then how important dreams are. Indeed, it is. And there's so much. If you look at the whole history of any culture, dreams are absolutely critical. I mean, in the ancient Greeks, who were very cerebral type of people in many ways, weren't they? I mean, with their philosophy and the natural philosophy, which really become the basis of science nowadays, even the ancient Greeks used to go into the temples, and you would go into the temple, the special dream temple, and go to sleep on the temple floor. I remember saw one of the temples still standing in Syria, not Syria, in Italy. Where was it? Yeah, so in Italy somewhere, and they would sleep on the Sicily. It was, of course, it was. They would sleep on the floor and go to sleep on the floor, and then a dream would come. And if you slept in the temple on the floor, that would be a prophetic dream, because the god of sleep would come to you and whisper the message into your ear. You know, and you wake up with a dream that would tell you what to do. So it was a common. This would be a form of what we would call dream incubation, because if you ask yourself a question before you go to sleep, the gods of the dream will give you an answer. And we often forget how to use our dreams. Nowadays, we've become so out of touch with them that we forget that actually you could ask yourself a question and wake up with the answer. And so, for example, a modern way of doing this, perhaps if you had a dream diary, you could write in your dream diary, as I suggested, give me the answer to this question, and write the question down and ask for a dream. And it may or may not come, but usually if you do something like that before you go to sleep, it quite often will encourage you to recall a dream, because we dream all the time. Every night we dream, but we just don't remember them. And that's our way. Or write a note to yourself and put it under the pillow and wake up and see if you get an answer in the dream. But write it down, because there might be stuff hidden in there. It might not necessarily always be a prophecy. It might be just showing you ways out, because I think dreams are trying all the time to heal us, always trying to give us a way to find a solution to problems. But also, you see, we've got all the subconscious working there, giving us solutions to things. Even things such as the benzene ring was discovered in a dream. It was trying to think. I forgot who discovered the benzene ring, but the scientist was struggling with the answer of what to do with this chemical code, and he dreamed of a dragon biting its tail, and he said, it's a hexagon, we make it into a hexagon, that's how you draw the chemistry of it. And pow, he wakes up and he has this, he sees he's got the solution. Many writers have used dreams as a way to develop stories. Frankenstein came from a dream. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde came from a dream. So many inventions, even the sewing machine. Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine, couldn't work out how to get the thread with a machine through the cloth. And he dreamed of being attacked by savages in a jungle, and they had their spears and were about to hit him with the spear, and he could see on the spear there was a little eyelet. What's that? And he woke up thinking, what's that? And he thought, yes, we thread it through an eyelet, and then we can push it through if we have an eyelet on the end of the needle. Pow! The sewing machine was invented. Important device. All from a dream. So many things. I've lost track where I was going with that. I was going to say something else. I've lost track with myself. But these dreams can be inventive, but they can also be, because our brain's trying to solve problems with our dreams. It's trying to solve emotional problems. It's trying to solve intellectual problems. And sometimes if it can't find an answer, it just looks elsewhere. And it looks, where I think it looks, is into our clairvoyance. It actually looks into the spiritual internet that we could call the Akashic records, for example, or we could call the spiritual internet that connects us all, this mycelium of connection. Like mushrooms have a mycelium of connections. We are also connected, and maybe can get information from sources that are beyond our normal rationality. I think we can do that consciously in daily life too, and in meditation, as many great yogis have shown us in the past. So you said you dreamed about a tsunami. You need to give specific things in the dream, really, don't you? You need to say, because a lot of people would have a dream of a tsunami or something like that. And sometimes that happens, but of course it does. But the thing is, try to get more detail, I would say, with those things. Try to get more detail if you can. A lot of people will also have dreams of nuclear wars and things like that. Oh, there's one with a Q. Thank you. Let's have that one. What does it mean when you dream you're falling down a tunnel? Those are a number of common dreams out there, very common dreams. This is a very common dream. I have it sometimes too. There's a number of things around that. Sometimes that dream can be stimulated by a drop in the blood pressure, because the body's drop in its blood pressure when you go to sleep a little bit, and that change in blood pressure can give you a falling feeling, which triggers into a dream of falling. They say also that this type of dream can be sometimes when you're feeling emotionally stressed. You know, it's like, don't we say in our normal language, oh, I've got that sinking feeling? That's a similar sort of feeling when you're emotionally stressed. It can be whoop, bang, you can sort of drop. And I think it comes a lot when with the body is relaxing very quickly. Personally, I think it's where you've relaxed very quickly and the brain interprets that relaxation. It's oomph, the blood pressure's dropped. I feel like I'm dropping into sleep. We say we drop to sleep, don't we? It's dropping into sleep very fast. A curious thought that one person came up with, which is within the theories about this dream too, is that they say that when we were in our early primal stages and we lived in the trees, we were monkey-like creatures that would have lived in trees. Those that fell out of the trees, they say it's a memory from way back, an archaic memory of those that fell out of the trees survived, would pass the memory down the line, as it were. So this is why in dreams of falling, you don't hit the bottom. Because you feel it coming, you never hit the bottom. You always wake up before you hit the bottom. And they say that the early humans that survived passed on the memory, so they didn't hit the bottom. Those that did fall out of a tree where they were sleeping and hit the bottom didn't survive, and therefore didn't pass the memory on. So the thought is that we passed. It was a memory that was passed on through the genetics over millions of years. I'm not so sure I do hold with that, but I think I would say a lot of that is to do with physical sensations and blood pressure dropping, and also sometimes tension release. The opposite dream of flying. Freud used to say it was his favorite dream because this was a dream of sexual release, he called it, because you release going into the air. But it is kind of an emotion. I don't agree with 90% of what Freud said, but I think flying dreams, for example, can be a release of pressure. They're usually happy flying dreams. There's usually no fear in flying dreams, and that's why they are a form of release from tension, and maybe even take us into other realms, like I talked about, into the astral realms, as they call it, out of body realms, and again another place where we could perhaps get information about the future. And just to carry on with that a little bit, we also can have what's called lucid dreams. I'll do some more about this if you like this. Put it in the comments. Do you want me to do more about these dream things? Because I find them very interesting. But also in lucid dreams, there's dreams that we have where we wake up while the dream's taking place, and we can kind of control our dreams. Lucid dreaming can be another way where we can start asking questions of ourselves in dreams. What will happen? It's almost like we're in a hypnotic state and can tell our unconscious mind, give me an answer. It's learning to use this human biocomputer that we have. We've got all of it there at our fingertips, but we don't know how to program it. And that's why things, like I said at the beginning, mutual dreams can do that. And so can all sorts of techniques that we can use. I'll share some of these with you over the coming weeks, I think. I'll see if I can put some up. They're going to be pre-records, actually, because I'm going to be offline for between 2 to 3, possibly 4 weeks, probably a couple of 2 weeks or more. So if you don't see me and Jane, we've not disappeared. We've not been abducted by aliens. We are still with you, but I'm not able to get online because I'm going to be somewhere that takes me completely off the grid with no phones, nothing. I'm in a place where I can't be contacted. So don't worry, we're not going away. But take a few more questions. Thank you for putting the cues, guys, because that helps me to spot them. My husband died 14 years ago, and I dreamed about him, but he wouldn't talk to me, and he is with another woman, someone he went to prom with. Well, actually, Mary, I think what you're saying there, he died years ago and you dreamed he was with someone else. He was betraying you, I suppose, in the dream. Now, that's a common grief dream, actually. It's not a prediction, and it's not what they're doing in the afterlife. These dreams, often people will have, as part of the grieving process, a sort of feeling that they've been divorced or they've been betrayed. And this is an expression of how you're feeling in yourself. You know, you've lost somebody dear to you, who is deeply dear to you. And the dream is saying, this painful feeling I'm having is just like as if he divorced me, or just like as if he left me, or just like if he'd gone off with my best friend. You know, it's the pain. The dream is expressing the pain. So don't misunderstand that dream and think it's, oh, I've connected with him in the spirit world and he's doing all these terrible things. No, it's a dream where you're on a deep level trying to process that almost impossibility of pain that you have to go through with part of the grieving process. So understand that, don't make it worse on yourself by thinking it's a prophecy or it's something that's happening in the spirit world. If I've understood that, what you said there correctly, it's not. It's about coming to terms with with the grief. It's an emotional dream, actually. That looks interesting. I'm going to grab that one. I saw the word poo. What does it say? I have dreams about poo sometimes, and I take it as a warning that something is about to disrupt my life. Is this a common dream? Well, I suppose you are, you know, it's an expression, it's a pun of things in a way, and we say it in our normal language. Actually, our language expresses you know, oh, we're really in the SHIT now, aren't we? We're going down shit creek or whatever, you know. I mean, it says something, this is something bad, you know. So that dream is saying a clear indication, this is something stinks here, something's not right, you know. So again, it might not be a prophecy. It could be a prophecy, or it could be your unconscious mind talking to you and saying, you know, look, cat, this is all the troubles you got. This is the shit you're in. This is all the horrors and horrible stuff that's going on. And this is what the dream's about, you know. So it's helping to express to you actually what's going on in the dream. It's almost a dream explaining itself in a way. And you kind of know what's coming next with that type of thing. I'll take one more brief question because I'm going to have to go on because the time's going on here. And that's quite a good one, Stephen. Quite a hard one to answer. How do you tell the difference between a prophetic dream and one that's symbolic? Well, first and foremost, I would say look at the emotional content of the dream, because usually if you wake up in the dreams and you come up with an emotional feeling, that's usually a symbolic dream about what's going on in yourself. You know, even if it's a dream about nuclear wars or something like that, it's still about the war within yourself. It's still about the troubles within yourself. Now, on top of the show, I said about that I had that dream recently about London attack and Coronation Street and things like that. Now, the reason I think that dream might be prophetic, it could be something going on in my life, but we'll find out. But the reason I think it could be a prophetic dream is because it was emotionless. You know, oh, there it is. Oh, gas attack. Oh, people suffering, people choking. You know, I mean, there was no emotion in it, you know. And I think that these dreams of the future are often, certainly in my life, I've always noticed that they don't have that element of fear or emotion charged. They're not emotionally charged. So I think the first thing to understand is it's not emotionally charged. And often, if you work with your dreams a lot, you'll notice that some dreams you're having are part of a sequence, that often the dreams are picking up from something else you've been dreaming about, particularly if you write your dreams down a lot. And you can then see, oh, that dream's part of a sequence of other dreams I'm having. So sometimes I think the prophetic bits are kind of interwoven in perhaps any sort of dream. But I think one of the most important things I think is that the things that I've noticed is in my case, certainly the most prophetic dreams usually have no emotional charge to them. And that's what I think distinguishes them as being something unusual about them. Well, I'm going to finish it there, and I'll do some more stuff on dreams if you like, guys. I hope that's something you like. Did you like that as a theme? Because if you did, I'll do some more. Not now, but I'll do a few more, because I'm going to make a few more ahead. And I hopefully we can do a few more later on, right? So many questions. We'll do these again, and we'll do a few live ones again for this too. But hopefully you found that interesting. do please put your comments. And if you're interested, of course, I've written a book on it. I talked about my book, Psychic Dream. That one's out of print now. Ooh, there it is. Ooh, it's gone. That's the one I read. But all that book is now being republished because I've been able to republish it myself because these are on Amazon. So my new book, newish book, Your Secret Dream Meanings. And it's a big one. I don't know if you can see quite how big it is. How many pages has it got in it? 613 pages. That's a big book. It covers a load of my work about prophetic dreams and meanings of dreams, and some of the questions you already asked today about the common dreams and things like that. Whole lots in there, including how to lucid dream. And I put all my experience of dreams and clairvoyance into that as well, with the hope that you can help you to find your way through to understand what dreams are prophetic and which ones are symbolic, and how to distinguish between them, and the hidden meaning of these dreams and what they mean about ourselves. So thanks, guys, for being with me today. It's really kind of you. And like I say, I'll be offline for a little bit, but I will be back again, and I'll be putting a few pre-records up, hopefully, if I got time for that period while I'm away. So where is it? Right, see you soon. Bye for now. Well, my latest book is called Be Happy. This is all about my trip to India, particularly to see Sharavana Baba and some of the extraordinary things I discovered there. But it's also a bit of an adventure story as well, because it tells the story of how the Indian oracle, the NAADI, showed me how to save the life of my grandson. So it's a very poignant and very important book to me. And I think you'll enjoy the kind of spiritual adventure of it in some ways, and also some of the uplifting stuff about how to be happy in this somewhat unpleasant world sometimes. So it's quite a hopeful book. It's a book that I think you can learn a lot from if you're into the spiritual path. But this is kind of a third book in a series, actually, because my first book on the NAADI oracle was called Messages from the Universe. So this tells how I went to India and discovered the NAADI, and really I was one of the first Westerners to really stumble upon it and find the real NAADI. It gives you some warnings about the negative stuff as well. And it's also quite autobiographical, because it tells how Jane and I work with Princess Diana, the spirit of Diana. It talks about our work with Doris Stokes. It showed how we developed as people and as mediums, and our backstory as well. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy watching Jane and myself, I think you'll enjoy the backstory. But particularly the India stuff came into this book. And then I went to India to fulfill what we call the remedies. And this is in my book, Mystic Journey to India, which is the second book in this kind of series of 3 now we get. They kind of link together in a way. They follow on from each other. You can read them independently, of course. And there's also a movie made about this called Mystic Journey to India that you can find on Amazon. And there's links to that in the description below. Now, if you're interested in developing your psychic side, I've written lots of books about psychic development, but this one is probably my best, I feel. It's called Psychic School. It's very popular on Amazon. It teaches you how to become a psychic medium. It teaches what we call evidential mediumship. That is mediumship that gives proof, that can be verified. It really goes very deep. It's a simple, easy to read book, but it goes very deep into the spiritualist principles of developing proper mediumship. And it shows you how to develop form a circle so that you can work within a circle and become really good at your mediumship. So hopefully lots of you will read that and understand where I'm coming from with learning about mediumship. It has a companion book that goes with it too, called Psychic Protection. Both of these again can be read independently. Psychic Protection will tell you all about the other side of mediumistic gifts, such as ghost hunting, or strange synchronicities, or even the weird stuff like voodoo and strange stuff like that. Lots of intriguing, slightly darker stories in this one, which I think you would enjoy as well. Also, I've written a book about the afterlife itself called What to Do When You're Dead. Now, you might enjoy this. As you can see, the title's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So there's a few humorous stories in there. It's quite a light read, but it does go very deep as well into the idea of what is the afterlife actually like What do we experience when we go there? And what do all the cultures and faiths of the world say? And what do they have in common? And of course, my perspective as a medium with lots of stories about mediumship and proofs of life after death. So I think you'd enjoy that one too. Now, with the mainstream publishers, I was best known for my work writing dream books, because I had a number of bestsellers with that. But I've republished them in a book called Your Secret Dream Meanings. And as you can see, this is a pretty substantial book. And I think you will enjoy this one too, particularly if you're into dreams. Not only understanding the meaning of your dreams, but also this gets into the psychic side of dreams, things like lucid dreams, out-of-body experiences in dreams, time shifts and premonitions that come through dreams and so forth, all in here. A very substantial book. I've tried to price it as low as I can for such a big book like this, but I think if you're into dreams and you're into the unconscious, into the idea of, can our intuition open up into another world through dreams? That's another good book for those that enjoy that sort of thing. So there you go. That's it. That's the sale over, guys. But I hope you enjoy it. Like I say, do place a comment and do go and buy them, because you will help support our work and support this channel as well. So thank you very much for joining me. See you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.